Good morning, Tottenham fans. It's becoming very clear now that Thomas Frank may be our new manager. And I wanted to take a look into him because I didn't want to just brush him off and judge him straight away. Oh, he's at a mid-table club. He's never won anything. Blah, blah, blah. I didn't want to judge him. I just want to see what kind of man he is. What kind of tactics does he use? What's his principles? How he could fit at Spurs? What he would do? What's his plans? And I looked into a lot of interviews with him. I looked into his tactics. I looked into what others thought about him. And to be fair, I was pretty impressed. So I'll share some of that with you today. And I know he's not our manager yet, but I thought I'd give you an insight into looking at Thomas Frank if you're interested in that sort of thing. It is likely that he could be our next manager now. He's told Brentford that he wants to leave. So let's get into this. So let me just firstly talk about his principles. His principles are to work hard, be on time, but most importantly, you need to be able to believe. Believe in yourself, believe in your teammates, believe that you can beat anyone. He used Manchester City as an example when Brentford were up against them. And he used them for example because at the time they were the best team in the world. They were on the course for a treble that year. And there was a rumour saying Haaland may not play. Frank sat his players down and told them, I really hope Haaland does play because when we beat them, we have beaten their best side. Now that mentality for me is very strong and very good to hear. He has never once, ever in his whole managerial career gone into a game, tried to play for a draw. He's always tried to work a way to try and win that game, which again is good mentality that I like to hear. By the way, that Brentford side beat Manchester City that day. Frank won't tolerate dickheads, and that was his words, by the way, not just me swearing for the sake of it. When he was asked what a dickhead was in an interview, he said someone who doesn't care, someone who don't work hard, someone who turns up late and doesn't care about his teammates. He said, and he clicked his fingers and he said, if I have any players like that, they won't be playing for me anymore. Now, again, I like that. I like that mentality. He describes himself as very logical and will always try to learn and adapt every day, which is really good to hear because obviously it's a massive step up to Tottenham and there's going to be a lot of learning curves along the way, especially at our club. He won't stick to one tactic, but his principles will always be the same. He will change tactics depending on who he's playing. He will even adapt them during the game if necessary and try to win. He will plan ahead different scenarios for the players. So if plan B is not working during the game, the players will already have a plan B and a plan C in their minds ready to adapt before the game's even begun. He works with a budget, the third lowest in the Premier League. So he has to find hard-working players with strong mentalities and players that will want to learn and adapt and with strong mentalities, and he has to find them with a lower budget. So he's done very, very well with what he's got and turned that club into a very, very competitive side and a team that nobody really likes facing. He likes his players to be versatile, to be able to play in multiple positions, as he likes to adjust formations during a game and needs every player to be able to cover, especially during an injury crisis or if he needs to rotate. Case in point, Mbeumo has played on the right wing, he's played on the left wing, he's played up front, and he's even played at right wing back. So Frank will utilise players in different positions if needed to. He's also more of a coach than a manager. He's great with the younger players. He used to coach Denmark's under 16 and under 17s. He took the Danish team under 17s to the European Championships for the first ever time, and he even got them to a semi-final. He took them to the under-17s World Cup for the first time too. He had 2 top 4 finishes with Brøndby in Denmark in his first 2 seasons, 4th in the first season, 2nd in the second season. He became Brentford's assistant manager in 2016, then promoted to first team coach in 2018. And that was in October, so halfway through the season. Well, just after the start of the season. In 2020, he took Brentford to a playoff final in Wembley and got them promoted. He finished 3rd in the championship that season. Frank needs his players to press hard, win their duels, win the second balls and track back. These are non-negotiables. And for me, again, that is good to hear. We have players that can do that already. This seems to be ingrained in the Brentford players as they can compete with anyone in the Premier League. And that was evident when they beat teams like City. They beat Spurs, not this season, but the season before. This is pretty impressive considering the budget and the calibre of teams that are in the Premier League and the calibre of managers, and he seems to be able to compete on level terms with them, with the 3rd lowest budget, by the way. So how would Frank fit into Spurs? Well, Frank wanted Gray and Johnson at Brentford, so he would know all about those 2 players. He plays players in different positions to utilise his tactics and play to the strength of the players, which for me is a good thing as well, how he'll fit in, because Postecoglou did exactly the same thing, and he utilised his players in different positions, and Frank will do the same, so the players will already be used to it. So don't be surprised if you saw Brennan Johnson up front and Gray in defence or in midfield or an attacking midfield role. You just never know where Frank will see these players play. Frank will be coming into a Tottenham team who have already won a Europa League trophy. So one of his big principles is belief. They can win, and it will be easier to install this mentality in the players as they've already won something the season before. So he will install even more belief that they can go on and do this again. Thomas Frank beat City twice in the season they won the treble. As we all know, we always beat City, so Frank will fit right in there. Frank has worked with a very low budget at Brentford, and this will be music to Daniel Levy's ears. He seems to find really strong talented players for low fees and develop them into top players. Players like Mbeumo is wanted by many Premier League teams now. This is interesting, as would Frank want to bring Mbeumo to Spurs? There's already been news reports about that. He already knows how Frank operates and is a very, very strong, good player. And he would fit straight into our first team. Frank is seen as a more defensive kind of manager from the outside. I thought he was myself. But in reality, Brentford scored a lot of goals through Mbeumo, Wissa and players like Ivan Toney when he was there. So don't be surprised if Tottenham stick with the attacking style but adopt a more defensive structure at the same time. Looking into Frank's strengths and what we have match very well with the team that we've got. If he got a couple of good signings like a holding midfielder, he likes to play 3 in midfield sometimes, and he likes to play 5 at the back. So he would probably need to bring in a few more players to utilise that in 4 competitions, but 2 per week if you're playing Champions League. My only concerns is he needs to win the players over, because obviously they're still raw about Ange leaving and they were fully behind him. So he would have to win the players over. What better way to do that than win the Super Cup? That would be a really good way. And that would be a good way to win the fans over too. He's also not used to playing twice per week. So it's all good doing all your tactics for the upcoming game at the weekend and planning it all week. But when you're playing in the Champions League, and you've got other cup competitions too, you've only got a few days to figure out what you're going to do, and you might have to rotate the players that you thought that you would probably need in these sort of games. So it's something he's going to learn and adapt to. He's a very intelligent guy, very logical guy, so I'm sure he can learn it. It may take time. We need to get behind him if he's appointed, and not start turning on him as soon as things go badly. This is going to be his first season. He's going to need to learn how to adapt, especially on the things I said we're concerned about. So we need to get behind this manager. This club like to get rid of managers every 2 years. It would be nice if we actually stuck with a rebuild. So hopefully this is the guy that can get us there. It has some Poch vibes to it, but it could also be a Graham Potter vibe. So we will never know until it actually plays out. There's still lots more I need to learn about Thomas Frank, and I'll probably mention a few more in some more videos. I know his formations change week in, week out, depending on opposition, which is really good. And he is a really good people person and very strong coach. So I'm sure he can get the players on side very, very quickly. He has all summer to do it if we can sign him up fast. Let me know in the comments what you think of this video. Thank you for watching, and come on, you Spurs.